Hey, how's everyone doing today? This is Nathan Russell, fighting for an independent Ohio. If you want your shirt with your name on it, I'll make it with these mitts. Just call. You can find my phone number or get a hold of me through my channel, and we'll make that happen. Today, I want to talk to y'all a little bit about what's called eugenics. So, right here, eugenics. The study of how to arrange reproduction within a human population to increase the occurrence of heritable characteristics regarded as desirable. Developed largely by Sir Francis Galton as a method of improving the human race. Eugenics has increasingly discredited as unscientific and racially biased during the 20th century, especially after the adoption of its doctrine by the Nazis in order to justify their treatment of Jews, disabled people, and other minority groups. It's occurring today. It's been happening forever. But they finally got it to where they've spread the whole planet with this experiment. Nobody really truly knows. That's why these people are psychopaths. But I was watching today. I got the latest pandemic update from the smart people. So let's go into a little bit about this. I'm going to start out with kind of how Bill Gates wants to handle this situation.
It has four factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra. But let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3. The second factor is the services we use. This encompasses everything: the food we eat, clothing, TV, heating. These are very good things. Getting rid of poverty means providing these services to almost everyone on the planet. And it's a great thing.
So right there, you heard him say it. I didn't say it. He said, if they do a real good job on vaccines, on the medical field, health, and with birth control, they'll be able to make it so we can't keep on populating the planet. I don't know how that makes you feel, but to me, that makes me feel that they don't care about me. They'll throw whatever they want at us with no remorse. In order for them to keep on flying around in their airplanes, cruising around in their yachts, they need less of us. And they're psychopaths, so they will do whatever it takes, and they believe it's justified to get rid of us. We've already seen the endless wars. They con us into fighting, hating somebody you ain't never met before. But most of those people in these other countries, they're just trying to do the same thing you are. Trying to feed your family, trying to have a little something, and live a modest life. They don't care. Because they want to live the lavish life, they don't care about you trying to live a modest life. Done. When are we going to do something about this, people? So let's move on to Dr. Fauci and his crew of criminals. And you know they're lying.
For taking my question. If it sounds like effectiveness begins to wane sooner than 8 months, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So if the supply is not an issue, can you walk us through the science of how you landed on 8 months? Please, thanks.
Why don't we start with you, Dr. Murphy, and then Dr. Walensky or Dr. Fauci, if you have anything to add.
Sure. So thank you, AJ, for that question. So let me talk you through how we were looking at this. We did see that around the 6-month mark in the data, you start to see increases in mild to moderate infection. But we know that the most important purpose of the vaccine is to keep us out of the hospital and to save our life. It's to prevent against hospitalizations and death. And fortunately, we are seeing that still holding at a high level, which is good news. But our anticipation is that if the trajectory that we are seeing continues, that we will likely see in the future a increase in breakthrough hospitalizations and breakthrough deaths. And that's why we used our judgment, Weijia, to see to make a determination of when that point may be. And that's how we came to the 8-month mark. I want to be clear, though, there's nothing magical about this number. Could it have been 1 week earlier, 1 week later? This is where judgment comes in. And it's why we put so much time and thought into this decision, why we pulled the best public health and medical minds from together around the department to look at the data, to discuss it a number of times, and then ultimately to come to that determination. And lastly, let me just say this, Weijia. We have said over the last several months that we are looking at the data closely, and when we see a signal, that we will let the public know and tell them what our plan is. And that's exactly what we're doing today. We put the best minds together in administration. We looked at the best data that we had. We saw a signal. And now we are sharing our assessment with the public with a plan for how to make sure that the protection people still have today from the vaccine will continue in the future.
And maybe if I might, Jeff, just add, another piece of data that we've been looking at is our international colleagues who are ahead of us, both in the Delta surge, as well as have vaccinated a few weeks ahead of us in terms of large portions of their population that have been vaccinated. And data we're seeing from our international colleagues, specifically and especially Israel, have demonstrated a worsening of infections amongst vaccinated people over time. And so we remain concerned about that as we see in the context of Delta variant, some breakthroughs that are occurring and decreased vaccine effectiveness that is occurring in the context of infection. We are watching the experience of other countries carefully and concerned that we too will see what Israel is seeing, which is worsening infections over time.
So right there, most of what I wanted you to get was at the end. When she talked about Israel vaccinating most of their population over there, I believe that most of their population got vaccinated just because they will shoot you, they will kill you, you will get nothing if you don't. They have the power to do that to their people based off of the fact that we've been giving them our money, our weapons, our security for all these years. Hell, since 1962, 64, I think. Yeah. So their population's highly vaccinated. I believe that. And based off of the research I've been doing over the years, when I first started learning about the CDC, what they do and how many lab leaks they have a day. Like, I take it personal because that's money that could have fed some of the kids so they don't go hungry. They could have used that money to fix our potholes. They could have used the money on us. Because at the end of the day, reason why they tax us, reason why our taxes go up, is so that way we can fund them to do stuff in other countries. I'm tired of it. We need to stop. Most of us feel that way. Stop giving our money to people. We gave over $2 trillion to Afghanistan. We're pulling out, and it's a shit show. Straight up, shit show. Because the smart people, we need to kick them out of office. I don't care what it takes. If we gotta go grab our pitchforks and our guns and do it, let's get them out. So she's talk about Israel and how the vaccinated people in that country are getting COVID again, except it's worse. I had COVID. I let my immune system fight it. So if I get it again, okay, all right, I might get sick. But my immune system's fighting it off, not some stupid shot that they're never ending gonna make you guys have to get. If you got the vaccine and you get COVID again, it's gonna be worse, and it'll get worse every time the virus mutates. Why? Because the scientists made it to mutate, and what they found in lab animals was every time it mutated, it got worse. So it's a never-ending process. I feel so bad for a lot of people. And the facts of the matter is COVID ain't gonna just go away. Did the flu? You think the flu just went away? You might think so because you haven't heard about it, but it is by all means still there. It didn't magically disappear. Come on, folks. So, at the end of all this, even if you take your booster, and there's a lot of people that's going to have to take the booster because they have no other choice. At the end of the day, these smart people that's been tinkering with this crap for a long time, it's what they got.
And it is those people who will be the long-term care facilities, healthcare workers, vulnerable populations. It is those people who will be first eligible again.
Okay, so why don't we take the last question, Kevin?
All right, Brenda.
Thanks. I just have a question, a little bit to do with the rationale here. So do you have any evidence from the US or from other countries that waning immunity is playing a role in transmission of Delta because it's so highly contagious? Do you anticipate that boosters will help to slow the spread?
Dr. Fauci, you want to go first there?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, and thank you for that question. Transmissibility is a bit more tricky than looking at a clinical phenomenon such as infection, seriousness of disease, and hospitalization. It is entirely conceivable, and we will be looking at that when you boost and have a high level, and as I showed you on the next to last slide, the increase with a boost is really quite striking, multiple fold increase, that it is conceivable that that would be important in lowering the level of virus in the nasopharynx, which could have an impact on transmission. I certainly hope that's the case. If it is, then you could really get multiple benefits from doing this. You can get benefits for disease, severity of disease, and then ultimately infection and transmission. But the bottom line, with full transparency, we don't know that right now.
Well, we appreciate all the...
So right there, at the end of the day, they still don't know if it's going to work. They don't truly know how long the booster will work. But what they do know is that if you got the vaccines and you come across COVID again, it's worse. It's worse the second go around. It's going to be even more worse the third go around. They're non-magical. They just thought of 8 months for a booster. It's insane, folks. What do we do about it? If we had justice in our country, based off of the video I showed you with Rand Paul talking all about trying to get to the bottom of this, especially with Dr. Fauci wanting to hold his feet to the fire. They should arrest him. They should detain most of the people in the CDC labs. We should do a full investigation on this with them all being detained. Not saying arrest them all, because there's a lot of people that do what me and you do. We just do what we're told and hope for the best. Well, there's a lot of good people working in them CDC labs. But they got information that they know. One of the people that I listened to she was high up when AIDS first came out. She went in, she's tinkering around like she was told. She found out some things. And when she tried to talk about it, she was silenced. She was fired. She was raided by the FBI. She was incarcerated for a little bit until she didn't break the law. That's exactly what we should do to Dr. Fauci, Bill Gates, and all the crooked crones that's been giving money to this thing. And I'll fight for that. And that'll be justice. Alright. So, I hope y'all got something from this. By all means, don't just listen to me. Don't listen to just my snippets. Listen to the whole thing. You find it, punch it in your computer box. Do your own research. I understand TikTok's cool, watching little 5-minute videos or whatever, or 5-second videos. But if you don't start learning about your future right now, then you're not going to have one. And that's the truth. Love y'all. Good luck to all, and to each your own.